All right, we're going to try a little experiment here with one of Deanna's cool papers here. And I think it'll work because the configuration of this background right here, I think will allow us to make a little mini horizon card, okay? Now, usually with my horizon cards, I'm using two different components. I'm using a top area of a card and a bottom. But someone asked me, on my photo stamping horizon cards, did you just fold a photograph in half, or are you using two different components? And I thought, well, in theory, you could kind of fold one piece, into a folded card format. I'm going to try it here because I think that this moon and this kind of reflection of that lighting right in here will allow for it. So I'm going to take this and fold it like so. Now, I think you can also just measure it out, and maybe that's the better way to do it, but I'm doing a little experiment here like this. So this is going to be like a little, like a little tag or something like that, okay? So I think that worked really well in terms of that little horizon right there. So right now, what you're looking at is this moon over this body of water, and I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this open. Now this is what I mean. Sometimes, maybe it'd be better if I just kind of measured it, because now I have this crease right here that I'm going to try to be stamping on. So it's going to probably leave a little bit of a gap between what I stamp down here and up top here, even though I want them to be separate kind of areas, okay? But I'm going to test it out and see if it works out. Now I can just leave this like that, and I think that looks pretty cool, but I'm planning on using the Seaside Cove in this area down here, but again, I might want to leave it just as is, so I'm going to stamp my component first. Okay, now the Lakeside Cove is one that I was going to stamp in here, the Lakeside Cove Large. Originally, when I had this just flattened out, I was going to put the cove right in between the moon and this reflection, but I think the smaller one would be a little bit better in this case. So I'm going to try this out and see how it works, and I'm not going to stamp the entire stamp, but I'm going to ink up most of it, and then we're going to mask off this area right here, and I'll just have the this top portion right up there. It'd be okay to have the reflections down here in this area, but I think I want to leave an option for me to stamp the Seaside Cove instead. It's all an experiment here, so let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm using my black hybrid ink. Use any kind of ink that you want on this paper. It pretty much takes just about anything, but test it out and see how your impressions work on it. Since it's a matte paper, but you have all these printer inks on there. Okay, so I'm going to slightly undermask this. And I'm going to have this ridge here now because of that fold. So I don't know how much of it is going to stamp down here, but if there's a big gap in between my impressions on the top and bottom, I'm just going to utilize, I don't know, like a colored pencil or something like that and just fill it in that missing area. Because it's just going to be black ink, so I'll use a black Sharpie marker or a black colored pencil or something like that to merge the top and bottom portion of this together. So, okay, so I put this mask, and there's just this piece of paper right across that crease. And I'm pressing a little bit harder right around this crease mask right here. Okay, that got right down to that line, I think, just fine. So let's just see how this goes. Okay, let's see here. I think I can use the same cove out to the edges, but let's go with the taller pines and rocks, I think. Just for a little bit more height variation. And I'll mask off again, and again, slightly under mask. Although, I don't know, I got pretty close there. I don't know if I need to under mask too much. I'm kind of surprised because I had that, that crease is there. Maybe it's if the crease was on the other side, or if I bent the other way, maybe. It would stick out. Now it's recessed a little bit. Okay, we have that. And just a little tiny bit of this on this side. You can use this portion of this, the Lakeside Cove over here too, but we'll go for a little bit of height on both sides. What I'm doing is I'm kind of framing off this moon. I mean, the moon's going to be, the big star of the scene here in terms of kind of your visual starting point. People are going to be drawn right to that moon immediately. So what you're doing is with this is you're framing it off a little bit more. And you're really showcasing it like that. Okay, so that looks, now just as is, it kind of looks a little bit weird because, again, that's the way it's going to look right here, okay? Now, if it's just flat, we don't have, this bottom portion on anything, so horizon card, we can add in our Seaside Cove. I think it looks kind of cool as is, and I'm a little bit, I'm thinking about adding this over the top of it and obscuring some of that somewhat. But I think I can add in some more highlights. It gives me a little bit more opportunity to bring in some lights down in here, where I wouldn't really do that on just this smooth area like that. Okay, I would just kind of leave it as is, but I want to have some fun, with some highlights, and the pastel pencil I think would work really good in here. So I'm going to try it out and see how it goes. I really like to add in some extra little features when I'm stamping. I really get a kick out of adding those little details into my pieces. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to try to forgive my head being in the way here, but I want to get this lined up a little bit. This is the area where it's the lightest, so I'm going to add that over. I'm going to be more dominant on the left-hand side. Okay, so again, that's this kind of the center of this Seaside Cove Small, with the least amount of texture and tone in the design, because it's supposed to be like light hitting that area. So I'm moving it under the lit area of Deanna's background. It's kind of like working backwards. You're usually stamping, your compositions first, and then you're adding your sky and your moon and everything like that and illuminating. But here we're working with a given image, so it's like you're configuring all of your imagery around that background. And it's a very specific background. It's not like a generic, pre-printed background that's like uniform, top to bottom, left and right. Okay, so again, I'm using a little bit more pressure because I am, I'm still thinking about that crease in there from the fold. But okay, it worked out just fine. That little crease in there didn't, there's no big gap in between, like a big, space in there. Maybe you can't see it anywhere, anyway, because of the, the card is dark in there, so maybe I didn't need to worry about that at all. Apparently I didn't need to, but look how cool that looks. So about 9 minutes and we're done. You could be done if you wanted to. But let's add in some extra little features here. Let's add in my texture. I seem to use this on all of my scenes, which is the Tiny Rocks Small 329A. And And see, we have this space down here. And what we're doing is we're filling it in with additional texture, but it's also framing the bottom area really nicely. Okay. I saw it somewhere. Here we go. I think I'll put a little subject in there. When this person can't sleep at night, or if there's a cool kind of sky feature, they like to go kayaking on the lake at night. And I'm going to put them right in that lighting. So it's like being, spotlight coming down right on our subject matter in the moonlight. Now, this doesn't have to be a reflection card. I think that looks pretty cool, just if we're looking at that just straight on like that. But, look at this right here. Look how three-dimensional that looks. So it's just kind of fun to, to put this type of thing together. I guess this one, someone can be viewing it. It could be folded or, wide open, and it would be just fine. All right, so I'm thinking about some foreground right in here. Let's just go with some reeds. I was going to go with possibly another tree right down here, a taller one to kind of frame things off, but let's just go with some reeds right here, and we'll keep it a little bit slightly lighter in terms of visual weight, with some elements right in here. Maybe about like so. Okay. Now, this isn't a perfectly porous surface right here, but I think I can use a little bit of pastel pencil in here. Okay, so we have our lighting coming down like that, but see these waves right in here? Now this might be a little bit too dark of an area, but I think I'm going to come in here and illuminate some of these little waves a little bit more, or not a little bit more, just at all. Which seems kind of fitting. It's going full circle because Deanna makes these backgrounds using pastel pencils, so kind of finishing it off with a pastel. It's going full circle, so it really relates to the background in terms of media, and thus the style and technique. See right here, I just kind of put a general little tone down, but underneath the lighting, I'm making it a little bit lighter right in here, but just by applying a little bit of thicker application of that pastel, see like that, and it kind of tapers off darker like that. So the way you do it is you kind of lay down a general amount of it like this, and then you can spread it around a little bit like this and taper it off like that. But now see, this area right here is really dark, so I'm not going to make this illumination quite as light as some of the other ones that are closer up towards the light. Something like that. And then see that you have that kind of just, it can stand to go a little bit lighter. I thought it would stand out a little bit too much, but I don't know. Maybe it's kind of visually merging really well because it's pastel. I don't know, but it has a really nice glow to it now. Like that. Okay. There's some splashing waves right over here. Or not waves, but water. All right, now that is some white. And I like to add in some extra shading here. So underneath the waves right in here, I'll add a little darkness. Now this is just a regular black colored pencil, but you could do it if you have a black pastel pencil. That would be great too. So I'm just going right underneath these waves, not doing it too dark, just like I didn't do my white too white. There's a lot of leeway. It's not like, oh my god, I added, one stroke too much black or something like that. It's not that precarious. But what I'm doing right here is I'm just kind of anchoring down my imagery up top by having them cast a little bit of a shadow. Kind of framing off the interior of the scene a little bit more. Like that. All right. And now I think this will be a pretty cool spot for a little bit of a word stamp. So I'm going to take a look at that and see what we have. Moonlight. Now it's a longer piece, but by folding this in half, we've turned the components into two kind of rectangles that are landscape, as opposed to this being portrait right here. So this will fit really well with that landscape, elongated type of formatting here. I'm using my Brilliance White right here on this paper, and it should work just fine. Forgive my head again. Okay. We'll allow some of this ink to transfer a little bit before lifting. You don't have to press real hard, just even pressure, good even pressure. And what I'm hopefully doing is I'm allowing a lot of that ink to transfer. And we have that. It's not a super light impression because pigmenting's a little bit translucent. It's not really opaque unless you use it as a base for like embossing or something like that, and use white embossing powder or something of that sort. But okay, now I don't know, they call these kind of inside out cards, but look at that right there. Doesn't that look real, kind of three-dimensional like that? I think it was just kind of a fun little experiment because the format of this moon and the reflected lighting down here. I mean, it's supposed to be like a cloud that it's reflecting in, but now it turns it into something surface oriented on, terrestrial, as opposed to this area being like clouds or something like that. I think that was the intent. I'm not really sure, but the good thing about this paper is it could be used for really either one. This area down here might have, I don't know, it might have been intended to, stamp something in here, but I'm going to put a little lighting right in here too, I think. A little, just a tiny bit of shimmer right in that area right there. Ah, you can't even see it. I'm being too conservative about my application down there, but I don't know. I guess I don't want it too light. It's a really dark area. It's the one of the darker areas, so I don't know. Maybe I don't want to take it too light. Let's get a little bit more lighting into these waves, though. But see, like this, so I've carried that lighting right down here like that. And we have this right here, so I don't know what you do on the outside. I would put like a little word stamp right here. I would stamp it out on a separate piece of paper and kind of mat it, and then apply it right there. I would keep the stars and everything like that, so you know, happy birthday or whatever, you can put right there. And then they open it up like that. You get this real kind of three-dimensional type of looking piece right there. With a really cool moon. A nice reflection down there. And just a little, I don't know, it's like a little tag or something like that. Like a little gift tag or something of that sort. But an extra cool one, though, you know, as far as a scenic stamping scenario goes. Especially if someone, you know, likes the outdoors or something like that, or their favorite color is purple, you know, this could be, you know, a card for anyone like that. Or anything else. Father's Day, whatever. All right. Hope you liked the card. Thanks to Deanna for supplying me with some of these really cool papers to experiment with. And, I don't know, it induces some different ideas and creativity. And this is my first kind of horizon card where I did it on one piece of paper and just folded it in half like that for that formatting. All right. Thanks again for watching. Thanks as always for tuning into the Stampscapes channel. If you like these videos, hope you give me a like and subscribe.